there we go.
Yeah, now we're good to go. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Ricky, how you doing this morning?
Good. Yourself?
Good, really good.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get started. We'll kind of jump right into it. Obviously, Josh isn't here, but we still want to reiterate our slogan that we believe truth is the cornerstone to your success. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the EasyFit challenge that we have going on. And right now, it's week 2 of the challenge for us. And when this airs, it should be around the end of the challenge or week 4.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned the challenge last week, right? On the as we were wrapping up our podcast last week. So maybe some listeners know what it is already, but it's something that we're doing at our local gym. We called it the EasyFit challenge. And it's actually something that Ricky, you and Josh came up with. I'm not sure who had more of an input there. It might have been your idea, if I remember.
Yeah, I mean, I brought it up to him, he agreed, and obviously we bounced it off of all of our trainers,
Right.
So we got feedback from everybody. And once we kind of hammered out all the little details, then we felt like it was ready to go.
Yeah. And we've been getting a lot of participants, a lot of good feedback on it. But to let everyone know what the EasyFit challenge is, it's a 28-day, a 4-week challenge. We're basically doing it for the month of June. And like you said, we've completed 1 week so far, and we're going into the 2nd week now. And there's 3 components. So it's very simple, 3 components to this challenge. Number 1 is we're trying to accumulate 10 miles of walking every single week. So 40 miles for the month of June.
Preferably outside, if possible.
Yeah. And of course, if it's a rainy day or if you prefer being on your treadmill, that's fine. But getting out in nature, we've talked about the benefits of that, and that's the way we'd like to see you do it if you can. The next component would be drinking only water, plain tea, or black coffee for the whole month. And there was a little confusion on this, I think. When we posted the EasyFit challenge on Facebook, I believe it was worded as consume only water, plain tea, or black coffee for the month. And people thought that we were literally not eating for the entire month of June. So just to clarify, this is only just what you're drinking. You're still eating food like normal, but we're trying to get a little more water in people's daily diet, if you want to call it that, or just increase our water consumption and get off of the bad liquids like sodas and juices and alcohol and stuff like that. So water, tea, and coffee. And then the other component was doing a 24-hour fast once per week. So you get 4 of those for the entire challenge. And I guess, Ricky, I was going to kind of ask you, because like I said, you and Josh really initiated this whole thing. How did you guys come up with this? How did you settle on or pick these 3 things? What was the thought process there?
Well, I would say that we kind of picked out each one independently, and we kind of figured out how that would affect the average person in a given week. And so, and I even evaluated my own self for my activity level and what I needed to do. But the one thing that I think is really effective is the 24-hour fast once a week. But we'll probably get into some backlash that we've kind of had on that. But I still think it's a lot easier than people think. And in their heads, they're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to not eat for 24 hours? I'm going to die.
And of course, that's one of the huge benefits of trying fasting, is that you overcome that mental ops hurdle. A lot of people think it is impossible and it sounds so daunting if you've never done it. But once you actually try it once, you realize, oh, this actually isn't as hard as I thought it or imagined that it might be. So that's one of the great reasons for having it in the challenge, is to expose people to trying to fast for a short period of time and realize that they can do it. It's not actually that difficult.
Yeah, essentially giving your body a break, letting your insulin kind of settle down a little bit. And obviously it does put you in a calorie restriction without actually having to starve yourself every single day.
Right.
So that was one of the biggest benefits of the 24-hour fast. The 10 miles walk or run a week, outside preferably. That was one for myself, actually, because I noticed that the average person, not like most of us trainers at the gym, but most of us that have a real, 9-to-5 job are sitting at a desk most of the day.
Right.
And
you discussed that on the podcast before, that you you're at a desk all day long, so you have a hard time finding times throughout the day to get up and move around and stuff. So you kind of figured that was something you wanted to incorporate a little more into your life. So you added it to the challenge for yourself a little bit.
Yeah. So, a little selfish, I guess, but
it's good though. It's what you have, the sort of job that most people do have, going into an office and not being able to move around much. So, you recognize that would be good for you, and it's good for all those other people in a similar position.
So yeah, that was one big thing about that was it wasn't adding, making sure you hit 10 miles a week. It was adding 10 miles a week. So, what you essentially, if you walk, let's say you track and you do about like 4,000 steps a day on average, or 5,000 steps a day. The point of this was to get up and move and purposely be outside, just not around the office or whatnot, but to get an extra 10 miles a week on top of what you were doing previously.
I like that clarification. So we're going for this challenge is to add an additional 10 miles of walking per week, preferably outside, like you said. Yeah, so you can't count if you're the sort of person who has a Fitbit and tracks your steps, and that you get 2.5 miles, walking around the grocery store and, your office building and stuff. You don't get to count that. We're adding a little on top of it now.
Right. Because the whole idea was, if you're doing 10 miles a week, and let's just say, for a rough estimate, it obviously depends on body weight for the individual, for like what the calories, count is for when people walk a mile, and what the actual calorie loss, or how much calories you burn in that given amount of time. But let's just say on average, it's about 100 calories per mile if you walk. Then, with 10 miles added to what you were already doing, you're adding another 1,000 calorie deficit to what you were already doing.
Very significant. Yep.
Yeah. And then I guess the last thing was really to kind of focus on how much sugar we consume. And, some people could probably, I guess, argue to still have like milk or almond milk or something.
Oh, okay. So you're discussing the drinking only water thing,
right?
And your goal was to start reducing sugar.
Right. Okay. So the whole thought of that was, I know for myself, whenever I was younger, I would drink soda with almost every meal.
Me too.
And so the whole point was, with any meal that you're consuming or eating, we want you to choose water, black coffee, or tea. And I mean, yes, like I make my shake and I use water in my shake, but a lot of people that make let's say a shake, which we consider a drink.
Right. That's food.
Right. So it's
that's your meal, and water is part of the recipe for that food.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, there's gray areas, but what we're saying is, don't consume, like those beverages that are bad for you, like sodas, juices, and even alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you actually brought up the sugar consumption thing, because I think that's the biggest benefit of doing the water challenge, the drinking only water, tea, or black coffee. The biggest contributor to sugar in the diet, in at least in the United States, is sugar sweetened beverages. And they're really one of the worst things in our entire food supply. And by that, I mean, soda is the big culprit. And just like you, I used to drink, 6 to 8 cans of Pepsi every single day. I mean, I would drink like a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, sometimes in a day, or like at least it wouldn't last any longer than 2 days, which is just asking for problems down the road. And that was also one of the hardest things when I think of, I used to eat incredibly unhealthy as a teenager, and I started making changes in my early 20s. And I made a lot of changes, but I think the hardest change that I made was getting rid of soda. There was nothing that I was more addicted to and that I clung to more strongly and for longer than Pepsi. Like that was so hard for me to get rid of. So I loved using this water only thing for 1 month as a way to kind of break people's addictions. If they are like a, soda or juice or, sugary beverage drinker. And then also on top of that, the same applies to alcohol. Obviously, we've got a lot of people that like to unwind with, a couple drinks every single night. And that really adds up in terms of the impact that it has on your health. So to kind of clean out from those things, and not only just clean out by removing those things, but also flush your body with nice, pure, clean water to kind of get a double cleansing effect from this aspect of the challenge, I think is really powerful. The upping the general activity, I think, is a really big thing with the adding the 10 miles of walking. I love that. With weight loss clients, sometimes one of the biggest things that they can do is just add walking to their day every single day. And just that one small change of like going for a 2-mile walk every single day after dinner or whenever it's going to be, it can sometimes be enough to get them to start actually losing some weight that was kind of that they've been struggling with for a long time, and it's funny. People think that they need to like run on the treadmill or they need to hammer themselves in the gym in some boot camp class or something, but something as simple as just accumulating 10 miles of walking every single week can have massive effects on your body composition.
And I think one of the other biggest things about that is that you can find a million excuses why you don't want to do a high intensity interval training or a HIIT workout, or why you don't want to go for a 30-minute jog. But I can't seem to find too many reasons other than, man, I'm running late on time. That where a low impact, easy, leisurely walk outside on a nice day, I can't seem to find too many reasons to say no.
How painful is a 1 or 2 mile walk? That's not too bad. And it's
not really.
Even if you're like, oh, that might be a little bit boring, or I don't really know if I have time or feel like it right now. Once you get out there, you start to enjoy it. Like, I think I found that whenever I go for, let's say, if I want to go for a 2-mile walk or something, maybe I don't really know if I feel like it, but once I'm out the door and I've walked just a minute or two, now I'm enjoying it. And then it's easy to continue from there. So yeah, it's a good point too. And then, fasting, we actually had a whole episode on fasting, so we don't even really need to go into that too deeply, but amazing health benefits there. The anti-inflammatory, the metabolic benefits, the potential weight loss benefits, improved relationship with food, learning about your hunger signals and stuff, learning that you can fast and go without food. So yeah, I love it. Like, these are 3 really foundational, fundamental changes that people can make that are really, really powerful and also really accessible and easy. Like, you don't need, we're going for a walk, we're drinking water, and we're not eating food for a period of time. Like, you don't need any equipment. You don't need any special memberships to anything.
Nope. And in fact, you save money.
Yeah. By not buying a bunch of sugary drinks and alcohol, and by not eating during your fasting periods.
Yep. So not only do you get all these healthy benefits, but you're also saving money in the process.
It's awesome. Really good. And, the other thing I was going to say is I really like this challenge as a starting point for getting into a healthier lifestyle. Because, like I said, the changes are so foundational. These are really the things that you should start with if you want to move towards a healthier lifestyle. You realize that maybe you've gone down a bad path as far as health and you want to like start getting things in order. These are definitely the places to start and then build on. And it's a great way to start creating new healthy habits too, especially in the summertime. I've told a lot of clients that summer is the best time to actually start making changes, I think, because the weather is nice, the days are longer, so it's easier to like be more active and get outside. People have more energy, they're in a better mood, so you're going to be more motivated. Summer is always like the best time to like actually like start making, be motivated and start making some changes. So I love that we're doing this in June, because hopefully that creates some new healthy habits. Then people can continue on through like July, August, and through the rest of the year.
And on top of that, the gym itself is doing the challenge right now, so a lot of us at the gym are going through it, but it's a challenge that you could really start anytime. So you can do it anytime. And like you were saying, like building healthy habits, like this is something that, you may not have to follow it to 100% accuracy, but if you start figuring out ways to incorporate those 10 miles throughout the day, or you find that, 24-hour fast is really good for you, you really like it, these are things that you can kind of keep on doing, and you could even do the challenge multiple times.
Absolutely.
So it's like, I don't plan on just doing it the one time. Now that I've done it and I've started and I figured out ways to incorporate, the 10 miles, I'm planning to keep that in my routine.
Well, this is something we'll talk about next because
Oh, okay.
I wanted to discuss our experiences so far with it.
Hmm.
Like talking about what's the hardest part, easiest part, whatever.
Hmm.
And like for example, you were just saying how this is something you can continue doing, and you might like enjoy certain aspects of this challenge and just keep doing them forever. So like just to kick it off, the easiest part of this challenge for me is the drinking water all day long. Because that's what I've always done. Like that's what I've been doing for the last basically 20 years. Like I don't
Hmm.
drink now that I've given up soda 20 years ago. I don't drink soda. I don't really drink alcohol. Gatorade, sports drinks, juices, milk. I just drink water pretty much all day long. I have my glass of water right here.
Hmm.
And I like green tea in the morning usually. And if I want a little extra boost of caffeine, then I have black coffee. So like literally everything that I always drink is exactly what our challenge is. So for me, that part was like, I don't even have to think about it.
Hmm.
What's with you, easiest, more difficult parts of the challenge?
Well, I would say that the drinking thing is probably the easiest one for me as well. The only problem with that is, yeah, it's the easiest one for us, but I think it's the hardest one for everybody else.
That's the funny thing. Yeah, I was going to say that is
Hmm.
most of the people that I've talked to, the drinking thing is the hardest. And it's kind of funny. I thought maybe it would be like sodas and stuff because that was so difficult for me to give up. I'm
Hmm.
meeting a lot of people who say that going a month without alcohol is very, very difficult for them.
Yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with peer pressure.
Hmm.
So with your friends saying, "Oh man, just come out, have a couple drinks," or there's always some life event happening where, okay, someone turned a certain age, or all right, someone's birthday, or I guess it's the same thing, or or what else? Like a wedding, or
Right.
I don't know. There's so many events, or so many things, family
Or just,
gatherings.
what, like the pandemic is finally kind of over and people are starting to gather again. So now there's like little house parties and stuff, and there's always going to be alcohol in those situations.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I just hear stories where people are, it kind of is like they go there and their friends are like, "Oh man, you have to drink, you have to have something. You
Mhm.
can't just drink water." And it's like, I mean, I think for 28 days, I think your friends can deal with it. You
Yeah.
know, you don't have to like shun them and not go hang out or anything, but I mean, it's 28 days.
It's good. It's good practice too. People are always going to try to. It's hard to make health changes or any sort of changes for the positive.
Hmm.
Often because there are other people in your life that are not going to make those changes. They're going to try to pull you back to where you were. So this challenge is this part of the challenge is really good practice for dealing with that sort of thing.
Hmm.
See if for 28 days you can encounter those situations where someone says, "Hey, have a drink with me," or whatever. And you say, "Oh, you know what? Like, I'm doing this little health challenge, and for the month of June, I'm not going to have any alcohol, but, see you in July," like,
Yeah.
or, and still get together with the person, but just have water. And, like it's because for any of us who want to live a healthier lifestyle, or like I said, like doing anything positive, you're always going to encounter situations where the people in that situation are trying to, or are encouraging you not to do what you are trying to do at that moment. And it's
Hmm.
good to be able to overcome that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that
And
could be a good benefit in getting that practice in this month for those
yeah.
who have difficulty with it.
So I would, so on that note, it's like, okay, for the 28 days, try to do it strict. Try to keep to these three rules very, rigidly, right? But we're not saying don't drink alcohol for the rest of your life, or don't drink soda for the rest of your life, but maybe you'll learn that moderation is a little
Mhm.
bit better, and you don't have to drink it every day or every, weekend or whatever it is for that individual.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, even for myself, after this challenge, I plan to have maybe like a soda every once in a while.
Mhm.
I enjoy it. If I go to a barbecue with my family, I'll have a soda at that. It's not going to kill me. It's not going to hurt my gains in the gym or anything like that.
Yep. I mean,
And
the
yeah.
two things for me is I do like to have like I like red wine I don't drink it very often, maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks. So for the month of June, I won't have any, we're doing this challenge. But like you said, like sometime in July, if I feel like having a glass of wine with a friend over dinner or something, like, it's not like I'm swearing it off forever. And maybe the hardest part with drinking for me, now that I think about it, is I do like kombucha a lot, especially in the summer when it's hot. It's really refreshing. So going a month without my kombucha might be kind of difficult, but that's good. That'll be my practice.
I wonder if my drink that I make is, I guess, illegal. I don't think it's illegal in this challenge, but it's just because my concoction is 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar.
That's fine.
And then a fresh squeezed lemon.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And just one of my, supplements, but.
Cool. Yeah, that you just got a little bit ahead of me, because I was in the tips section at the end, I wanted to mention a couple little modifications people could make. So for the water thing, for example, I was going to mention that you could squeeze in like some lemon. People like lemon water, or even people buy those fruit infusers now, which
like those Mio things.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the brands are, but they don't really add any sugar, but they just kind of give you like the
hint of flavor.
Hint of the flavor. Yeah. So like there's little things like that I would still say are legal on this challenge.
Yeah. I mean, even like seltzer water and stuff like that.
Sparkling water. Exactly. Yep. You wouldn't want to be drinking orange juice or grape juice or anything like that. That's terrible. But like these fruit infusions or like lemon in your water, that's fine. Yep. What about so that was was the water the easiest part for you? Yeah. So what's the most difficult thing, do you think?
I would say a little bit of it. Definitely the hardest by far was the 10 miles.
Okay.
Because I was, I'm fairly busy. So to find the extra time was a little challenging for me, and I had to try to figure out little tricks. And I'm actually writing about my whole experience on this challenge. So
cool.
Yeah, this will all be in like a post that we'll have on the website and everything, that people can see kind of the diet I followed, how I felt throughout like the weeks and all that.
That's awesome. You're logging it. Yep.
Yeah. But the 10 miles, I had to try to figure out ways to incorporate that into my day. And since I only eat my 1 meal a day, it actually came as kind of a no-brainer that I could kind of take my lunch. And so on my lunch break, I have an hour, so I can just go for a walk and normally get about 2 to 3 miles depending on how fast I walk in that hour, get changed, go walk, come back, get changed, and then start working again.
Yep.
Where normally I would just sit at my desk working, but I guess I didn't have to after all. I didn't have to. And then some other little tips that I kind of came up with would be just walk around your building. So I would finish something, I would, get up to use the restroom. And once I go to the restroom, I decide, all right, I'll just walk around the building real quick, do a quick walk around. It's like 500 steps, go back to my desk, and then start again.
I guess if we want to give people some tips there, how long do you think it takes to walk a mile? 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
It depends on how fast you walk. My pace is pretty slow, I'd say, because I think they said the average walking pace, because I looked a lot of this crap up, was 3 to 4 miles per hour is like an average walking pace.
All right, so yeah, it's 15 to 20 minutes, let's say.
And mine's more on that 20-minute side.
Okay, so if someone wanted to walk around their building they're just walking from office to office in a zigzag path, and they have no way to know if they've walked a mile. We could say, try to get in like 15 to 20 minutes of walking around your building and call that 1 mile, or if you wanted to walk like half an hour to upwards of 40 minutes, we could say that's a 2 mile walk, something like that. Yeah. So that's a good little tip for people, because there's not too many mile markers inside an office building.
That was hard to kind of figure out. I mean, there's so many tracking apps now that you can get on your phone, and everyone has I think almost everybody has a phone, but, and I mean, most people even have those like Fitbits and Apple Watches. So those pretty easily track your miles.
Gotcha.
But I don't have anything like that. I just have my app on my phone, and I kind of just do what you said. I kind of gauge it off of, all right, I have an hour. I'm going to walk for an hour. That's roughly about 3 miles.
Yep. There you go. For me, the hardest part, I think, was is the fasting.
Really?
Yeah, which is funny because I'm a big proponent of fasting. I've done it a lot. I've done a ton of intermittent fasting, multiple day fasting and whatnot. I don't have a difficulty with fasting. That's not the issue. It's just that I didn't want to be doing it during the month of June necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I go through periods throughout the year where I do intermittent fasting, and then other periods where I just allow myself to eat as I want. And then I have scheduled little longer fasts, like 3-day fasts every 6 months, things like that. And it just so happens that, we're doing this challenge in the month of June, and I hadn't planned on doing any fasting in the month of June. So for me, it's just a matter of, I really enjoy eating, as we've talked about in previous podcasts. I like eating throughout the day. And now I'm like, oh man, I have to fast this month. That wasn't part of my plan.
Yeah, I know.
So that's kind of when you're not up for it, it could be a little bit of geez, but I want to eat.
Yeah, because that was kind of one of the things I was teetering on. Obviously, fitting in 10 miles in my busy schedule is probably the biggest one. But yeah, the 24-hour fast every week is not something I do. I don't normally fast 24 hours every week.
You do more like 16 to 18 hours or like 18 to 20 hours.
It's more like a 20-hour fast every day.
Right.
But whenever I do a fast, so let's say a typical fast, they say 24 hours. To me, I take that as a whole day. So if I'm eating my meals in the morning around my workout, which I am doing right now, that would mean that I finish my meal at 10 a.m. the day prior. I don't eat the entire day the next day, and then I won't eat until 6 a.m. the next morning.
Well, wait a second. So you finished your meal at 10 a.m. And to me, a 24-hour fast would mean that means that you can eat again at 10 a.m. the next day.
Right, which I think is fine. I think for the average person, I think that's better than,
But you're saying like whichever day you do the fast, you don't allow yourself to eat until the next calendar day. Is that
correct?
It?
That's what I do.
Okay, all right. So you're getting some of your 1-day fasts then are more like 36 hours or something.
Or 40
like
hours, yeah.
40 hours. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, that would be much more difficult.
Yeah. So I'm like, man, I'm feeling hungry, and I've been losing weight, and because I'm walking so much, and I'm like, so my activity level went way up, and now I'm fasting 24 hours. I would say the first fast, easy. The second fast I did, I was like, man, am I hungry?
Okay, well, you'll like one of the tips that I'm going to throw in about fasting. Then I'll finish this section, and we'll talk about the tips at the end, and we'll get back to that point. But yeah, so the fasting has been the most difficult thing for me. Interestingly, I'll say medium difficulty has been the 10 miles. And I say medium difficulty because that's actually probably the easiest part of this challenge for me right now. For the opposite reason or a similar reason with the fasting thing, I've been running. I always run in the summertime. I like to run in the months of June, July, and August just because it's summer weather and it's beautiful out. So it just so happens that this challenge came around at exactly the right time for me. Like last week I did 20 miles of running. So I'm like going way overboard on the number of miles that I have to do. So as long as we're doing this challenge in the summer, I've lucked out because I was planning on like doing a bunch of running on the roads anyway. If it had been any other time of the month, if it had been, or the year, if it had been in, fall or winter or spring, then this would have been a more difficult part. I would have had to schedule times to go for a walk, which I don't usually do, especially during the colder months. If it was February, like trying to take a walk in upstate New York outside when it's 10 degrees out, that would be very difficult for me. So just to get the motivation to go do it,
Yeah.
I might even have to resort to a treadmill because I don't love the cold.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I may even sacrifice, walking outside for a treadmill and on some of those February days.
Yeah, totally. Have you heard any experience or feedback so far from anyone in our community who's doing this? Like, first of all, we've got a lot of participants. We've got a Facebook group going where people are discussing their experiences and kind of supporting each other. And I want to say there's like 25, 30 40 people doing this. There's a lot of people that are chiming in.
Yeah, there's at least like 40 people on the Facebook group that's doing it. And I know that there's more than that are doing it that aren't even on
Their
Facebook.
families involved in stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to think we're almost at like, I'd say we're probably closer to 100 just in this area. And it's, you know, we've only really put it out to people in our gym.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And where do you see, of the people who are posting and talking about it and people that you've talked to, where do you see people struggling the most or doing well? I'm kind of curious what the difficult part of the challenge is for people.
Well, I think a lot of people first thought it would be the fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I heard like initially a lot of people were like, ooh, 24-hour fast. That seems kind of iffy. I don't know if I can do that.
Yep.
And then, like I said, once people actually did it, they said they felt great. They started noticing that, oh, my body was telling me I was hungry, but then I woke up the next morning and I wasn't even hungry.
Yep.
So they start realizing these things. They're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
Cool.
But I'd say the hardest one for most people is really the drinking the only water, yada, yada, yada.
That seems to be the case. Yeah. Everyone's doing fine with the walking. I'm seeing pictures of people posting, you know, that they're out for a walk with their family and stuff. And people are really enjoying that. It probably helps that it's been absolutely gorgeous weather.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited to get out in the sun. But yeah, that seems to be the easiest thing for everyone. And I agree with you. Like, I've heard a lot of people really concerned or worried about doing the fast, and then they do it for their first time and the fear is gone and they realize it's easy. So it seems to be, yeah, I would agree with you completely. It seems to be the drinking water thing. People love whether it's your caramel macchiato latte in the morning, or whether it's, you know, your alcohol at night, or if you're a soda drinker or diet soda drinker, whatever it is. Those drinks are so hard to get off of, you know. I mean, they are the most pleasurable things, you know. It's just a shot of sugar that just hits your brain, you know, lights up those dopamine pathways. And yeah, it is.
I mean, it is
to abstain from.
It is like a drug. So obviously people that, you know, are still addicted to it, it's going to be tough to give it up.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that is the benefit. Like, if you are in that position where you are addicted to those things and you know it and you can admit that to yourself, you know that it's probably something that you should reduce and that you should work on. And it will be hard to do that, but this challenge is a great opportunity to try to do that along with other people who are also doing it at the same time that you get support from. And, you know, you got to take that first step somewhere. So,
yeah, and get some tips from, you know, people on Facebook or even us on this podcast, if we give some tips for what to drink. But I mean, there's tons of ways that you can make water taste good without adding too many calories. Like, let's say more than like 10 to 20 calories.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up then. We'll get into the tips for people to try to help people succeed with this. And I guess we'll start with the water challenge. I mean, some alternatives to just, you know, we listed drinking plain water. That's obviously like the number one, perfectly fine. Plain tea, and that could be green tea, black tea, white tea. It can be herbal teas, you know, bedtime teas, chamomile teas, like whatever. Like, there's a lot of different flavors out there, so that gives you some options. And then the black coffee. There's a lot of people that just cannot live without their coffee. We're not going to make you. We're just saying stop loading it up with cream and sugar just for this month. Yep. Try to back off that stuff a little bit.
And I almost want to add, like, okay, you can have milk or, you know, almond milk in there, because some people, when they make their shakes, like I was saying, they do add that to their shakes. And would that be considered cheating if they added it to a shake?
Yeah.
But we're saying they can't add it to coffee.
I know. There's definitely a little bit of gray area here.
Yeah.
Hopefully people understand the general thrust of this is just that we want you to be hydrating more with pure liquids and getting off of the really bad stuff. Like for me, for example, I don't mind black coffee. I like black coffee, but
same.
If I have my choice, sometimes I like to add a little bit of like heavy cream to it, or a little bit of half and half, just for a little bit of, I don't know, it makes the texture a little bit nicer. And I don't consider that an unhealthy addition at all. You know, I'm not adding any sugar or anything like that to my coffee, but for this challenge, I've decided to go with just plain black coffee because that's what we agreed on. So
Yep,
why not?
same.
Yep. Also, as far as drinking, we mentioned it already, but like the lemon water or fruit infused water, the sparkling water, I really like that a lot. You said like seltzers. That's the same as sparkling water, right?
Yeah, flavored sparkling water, because
Yeah,
you
okay.
can get sparkling water is just carbonated.
Yeah, it's just carbonated water, 0 calories, and it's got like some fruit essence in there for flavor of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some options aside from just the tea, coffee, and plain water. I had some ideas for the fasting part. I think on a future challenge, this is something to run by you guys. I was actually talking with Josh about this the other day, and he thinks this is a good idea too. Instead of the 24-hour fast, I was talking to a client of mine last week, actually, who's also doing this challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And she was disappointed in herself because she wanted to do the 24-hour fast, but she ended up breaking her fast at 22 hours. Because something happened with her schedule or whatever, and she had to eat a little bit early. And she was like, she felt like a failure. And I'm like, don't even worry. Like that counts. It's fine. Like you made it like basically the distance. Life throws things at you. But that got me thinking that instead of saying that people have to do a 24-hour fast every week, maybe it could be like you do one 24-hour fast every week, or 2 18-hour fasts every week. Or like 3 16-hour fasts every week, So something like that, like you have a few options in there. Cause like my thought was, it's kind of like the walking. We want people to walk 10 miles a week. And if someone can go out and they can just do a 10-mile walk on Saturday and be like, done for the week. Or they can split it up and do like 2 miles every single day, And I kind of like the idea of having that sort of flexibility with the fasting, where you can say, I'm just going to do a giant 24-hour fast and be done with the week. Or maybe I'm going to do 4 days of 12-hour fasting or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe we can come up with some sort of, we'll make a little modification to the next EasyFit challenge and have like a couple fasting options so people can break it up to fit their schedule. As long as they still get the benefits of those fasts. I wanted to throw that out there for people because there may be some participants listening to this who either are still afraid to do the 24-hour fast, which you shouldn't be. Give it a try. You can do it. But maybe it just doesn't quite fit their schedule. And if they want to do if 18-hour fasts do a couple of those instead of the 24-hour one, and you're still getting the same benefits as the rest of us.
Yeah, I think Josh actually even updated the website already. I was looking at it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he said he already put in there, I think, 2 16-hour fasts.
Oh, well, okay, perfect. There we go.
And I mean, I would even go as far to say maybe 3 to 4 12-hour fasts a week would still be good.
Yep, I agree.
The main thing is just getting your body used to not eating or not needing to eat so frequently.
Yeah, exactly. It's that mental training of realizing that you can go for extended periods of time without food, learning that every time that you have a craving or desire food, that's not necessarily true hunger. You might just be bored and want to entertain yourself with, a snack. And then also getting the metabolic benefits, which, of like a very low insulin state and all the good stuff that comes along with that. And, you can get that with 3 16-hour fasts just as well as you can with, 1 24-hour fast. So we just want to experience a little more fasting throughout the week. And there's multiple ways to do that.
Yeah. And I wanted to go into why a little bit. I didn't quite explain why I did such an extreme fast versus other people.
Oh, you mean like your 36 or 40 hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's because when most people are doing a 24-hour fast, like let's say the average person, you're missing a lot of meals. If I did it,
you're only missing one.
I wouldn't be missing it. I wouldn't even be missing a meal. So my calorie restriction would be essentially 0 if I just ate my whole meal at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So that's kind of why. So I didn't want people to be like, oh, I have to do what Ricky's doing. I have to really do a 40-hour fast if I want to get the same results. It's like, no, my case is a little more, I guess, extreme or different.
That's true. So you wanted to actually have that challenge of depriving yourself of a regularly scheduled meal, like the rest of us would be doing. Because that is difficult when you're used to eating at a certain time. And then you get to that time, your mind, your brain just says, oh, it's time to eat. And that could be a real mental hurdle for people. So yeah, it's good that you actually self-imposed that when you could have completed the challenge without having to deal with that whole
without having to fast at all. Just push it back 4 hours.
Yeah. Your meal just gets later by 4 hours every day. And then the walking, I mean, there's not too many hacks we can do here to make it any easier or anything like tips, but like there's obviously different ways you can do it. I mean, you can break it up into small chunks. You can do a mile walk in the morning, a mile walk in the evening. For me, I think the biggest thing to help with the walking is just to realize that, like I said before, once you get out there, you usually enjoy it. I find that if I want to go for a walk, I might tell myself, okay, maybe I don't feel like it, but I'm just going to do a 1 mile walk. I'll walk half a mile out from my house and then come back. That'll be 1 mile. But once you get out there and you're enjoying it, you get to that point where you thought you were going to turn around and you're like, oh, well, I'm already out here and this isn't so bad. I'm kind of liking this. I might as well keep going. And it's very easy for a 1 mile walk to turn into a 2, to turn into a 3, and so on. So as long as you just get out the door and take those first few steps, it's usually really easy to complete this part of the challenge. That's my biggest tip for the walking thing.
And I would say like trying to get friends or something, like if you're doing this with other people, like that's great, because obviously they'll help motivate you get out there to move. But if things that you typically do with your friends are, let's say, play video games, or I don't know, just go out to eat, stuff like that, maybe you could try inviting them to a park and you can start exploring like parks in your area. So on a weekend, instead of just going out to lunch with a friend or playing video games with a friend, be like, hey, let's go throw a Frisbee around here, or let's go for a walk around this park. And you'll see that you'll accumulate a couple miles just by hanging out with your friends.
Totally. And even if you're not like, wearing a Fitbit or whatever and tracking your steps, just like we discussed earlier, if you're out there just moving around with some friends for an hour, and you're constantly just like walking around, walking some trails of the park or whatever, count that 1 hour as 3 miles. Like basically every 20 minutes of walking around is a mile. So it's pretty easy to do the conversion there. One other thing that I was thinking, and I know Josh didn't put this on the website yet because I just thought of it this morning. Was a substitution here for the walking. And I only thought of this because last week I had another client tell me that I think I was asking her if she was going to go for her walk or if she had done her walk the day before or something like that. And she said no, because she went for a bike ride and she was kind of tired from riding her bike. And so she was worried that she wasn't going to get her 10 miles of walking in. And that got me thinking. I was like, I told her, I'm like, oh, don't even worry about it, because she rode her bike like 25 miles or something. And I was like, just count that. And that got me thinking, like, if people, I'm not a big cyclist. I'm not super into road biking or anything, but if people do like doing that, I could see some sort of conversion where maybe we say, like, I don't know, every 3 miles of riding your bike is the same as 1 mile of walking. I don't know what the conversion would be. Maybe like 2 to 1.
Yeah, we have to look at the calorie conversion and see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or like the amount of time that it takes. But as far as I'm concerned, if you go out for like a 20-minute walk, maybe that's a mile. If you go out for a 20-minute bike ride, that counts the same. So
yeah,
with this particular challenge, we've said let's accumulate the walking time, and I like that best. I want to get people in the habit of walking, but if someone decides to go for like a long bike ride with their spouse or something one day, I wouldn't tell them to like worry about trying to get those extra walking miles in. Like that long bike ride was really good for you in a very similar way. It's still out in nature and everything too.
As long as it was extra, I could see people being like, oh, I did a spin class and that was like their workout for the day.
Yeah, well, that's true. But we're not counting that.
So that's where like kind of a gray area comes in, where we just like do something casual throughout the day. Don't do a 50-mile bike ride on the weekend and be like, I did 30 miles, whatever the equivalent would be, for walking.
Right.
So it's like, because that's technically your workout. Like I'm still working out 6 days a week of heavy lifting.
when you said that this 10 miles of walking was in addition to your, let's say your normal exercise, if your normal exercise includes, going for bike rides and stuff like that, you don't, or going to a spin class or whatever, you don't get to count that towards your 10 miles that you're adding in on top of your regular activity,
Yeah.
So you gotta, there's a little bit of holding yourself accountable in this challenge. People should know what we're aiming for, and hopefully we've clarified that in this episode. People should know what we're aiming for with all of these three things and why we've included them. And then it's on them to hold themselves accountable to make sure that they're not cheating the system,
Right.
Anywhere.
And
try to stay honest with yourself, you get the benefits.
Right. Yeah. Because, obviously if I cut out one of my workouts, like I could easily run 10 miles. If I was like, oh, on Saturday, I'm not going to lift and I'll just run 10 miles that day. That could technically count.
But now you cut out lifting.
Right. So now it's like, so that's why it's like, I feel like as personal for myself, and the reason I chose walking versus running, even though we did do either or, is that walking doesn't really inhibit me from lifting the next day.
Right.
Like running could take a lot out of me. If I was doing sprints or something like that around a track, like I could be wiped and do like 0 squats the next day. So
totally. Yep.
So
now walking is the best way to add general activity and just more movement to your day without putting you in a deficit where you can't do the other things that you want to do, for sure.
Yeah. So we'll have to hammer out all the specifics, but
yeah, I mean, we're going to do this challenge again in the future. I mean, it's gotten such positive feedback so far and we all like it. So we'll keep doing it. Maybe we'll make little tweaks here and there, but anyway, I think we've wrapped it up here. Do you have anything else you want to add to this episode?
I mean, the only thing I want to say is, as I've been tracking, like I've realized that I used to do maybe 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day. And now on average, I'm getting 10,000 steps a day.
Wow.
So that's almost like an extra 250 calories per day I'm burning.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty awesome.
And as you said, it doesn't put you in a hole. It doesn't like take away from your workouts or anything like that. Yep.
Right. And then with that fast, where I do my fast, where I actually do miss a meal, that's putting me in a deficit of about 2,400 calories. So if you add that up, I'm almost in a deficit of 500 to 600 calories a day.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's
just from those two changes.
I kind of wonder what that's going to look like at the end of this month, because you've only been going for a week.
So, technically this is almost the end of week 2.
You're right. We're approaching the halfway point. That's right.
And to give people an idea, I've already lost about 8 pounds.
Jeez, really?
Yeah.
Wow. In about 2 weeks then. Wow.
In about 2 weeks. Yep. A little over 2 weeks now.
Yeah. So there's
there's
a testament to how powerful this challenge really is. And I'm really excited to hear in the Facebook group about other people's results. As we get towards the end of the challenge, hopefully people will say what they got out of it, what they learned from it, and what the results were in terms of like whether they lost weight or just felt better energy levels, like more time with their friends and family, going for walks, like all the amazing benefits you can get. I'm really excited to hear that from people. So
yeah, me too.
You're off to a great start. Hopefully everyone else is too.
Yeah. And it's just a testament that if you actually do stick to it and, keep yourself accountable, that it will work.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, that's, I think we've wrapped this up then. So that finishes another episode of the A is A podcast, where we believe truth is the cornerstone to your success. And I think, Ricky, you're all good?
I'm good.
Okay, I'm all set. So see you next week, everybody. And don't forget to submit questions to us either at info@comovement.com, the email address, or just comment on some of our YouTube videos and let us know if you have any topics or anything you want us to cover in the future. We'd love to get some feedback on that sort of thing. So Ricky, see you next week.
All right. Yeah. See ya.
All right. Bye, guys.